Hello, welcome back to the Katie Sassine Show, addressing the indoctrination of the nation. It's Thursday, one more day till Friday. You're almost there. Congratulations. Keep chugging, and then you'll be able to chug a beer tomorrow. Just kidding. But in all seriousness, today we are addressing the Open Society Foundations, the organization by George Soros. He is CEO and chairman of the organization. If you don't know, George Soros has a net worth of $25 billion. That is Austin Powers' Dr. Evil money right there. That is some serious dough. Just to give you an idea, our president, that does not accept the salary, the presidential salary. He is worth $5 billion. So Soros has that trumped, has President Trump trumped by, I don't know, times 5. If we, consider worth by net worth. Now, we're talking about the interview of George Soros in 1998 on his book, The Crisis of Global Capitalism, Open Society Endangered. Now, I just want to redeem myself, although it's too late for yesterday. This is Redemption Day. And for some reason, the name escaped me of the book that inspired this show. If you haven't already heard from me from the beginning of this show, when I first announced what inspired the show, it was the book, The Closing of the American Mind. And it inspired the slogan of this show because the subtitle is how the system, basically the subtitle is how the system of higher education has rendered students' souls desolate and flat. And how the system of higher education has actually cheated democracy by rendering students' souls desolate and flat. So because we do not understand democracy as students, and I say this loosely, loosely, because some people do study democracy and some people do not, but basically the lack of education in higher education, the lack thereof, is rendering students beliefless, I guess, without beliefs. It is rendering their souls desolate and flat. Because higher education has been teaching students to be politically correct for so long that students can't decide for themselves what is and what is not correct. They have no sacred text to base their thoughts upon, such as the Bible. They have nothing to reference them to. They know that they feel, and they know that they feel certain things are right and certain things are wrong, but they don't know why, because they do not reference them to any kind of sacred text. And people are, kind of in this lost era where they just don't know themselves and they feel out of touch and they feel like there must be something more to this life because they're not really biblically faithful, they're not really religiously faithful anymore. I know a lot of us are, but a lot of people out there aren't, a lot of us aren't. So and that's because they've been told it's not politically correct and that it's not good, and that what's good is to not have any set beliefs, is to be completely open to anything and everything and just let things happen and just be. Well, that's all great, and that sounds wonderful, and peace and love and happiness, and I'm all for, peacefulness and good things and positivity. But at the same time, I know that life isn't just butterflies and rainbows. I've lived long enough to know that there's more to life than that, and there actually is competition, and there actually is greed, and there actually is a human element in each and every human being. Another theory I want to point out about religion, for those of you who are not religious, I don't seek to push it upon you, but I do want to ask you and bring to your attention something, is that humans, we are thirsty, and when we're born, we need milk because there's milk for us. And we need food, we need nourishment because there's nourishment here for us. We need water because water is here for us. It's something that is a part of our being, and it's something that we will need to survive, that we will crave, and that we will have in order to survive. We will need it. And now the same thing goes for religion. So you're hungry, therefore there is nourishment here for you, and because you crave food. Now you crave also a belief in something higher than yourself, a belief in something greater than yourself. And why do you crave that? You ask yourself, Well, your answer, because it's here for you. Because that higher power does exist. And if you feel it and you want it, it's yours for the taking. So basically, if you do not believe, it's a lose-lose. Because if there's a chance that, you know, that higher power is out there, you're basically just saying, you know what, I don't need you. And if it's not, well, then I guess you get your nothingness that you signed up for in the first place. But, you know, if you want to be positive and, you know, say peace, love, and happiness, then you should probably believe in some kind of religion or some kind of system of higher power. Because I know that we all think about it. And the reason that we think about it is because it does exist. And that's the way I see it. So I hope I could at least change one person's mind out there, because I know that that helps me get through my days. And anyway, moving on, we talked about some, you know, boring economics. And I'm sorry if you like economics. I'm not a big fan of math. I do like economics better than traditional algebra, even geometry, because there's a lot more theory in it and it ties into politics. I liked international political economy. That was very interesting because we talked policy. It wasn't as much math as it was logic. So, you know, that was the appeal for me. And we talked about a lot of the economic theories of Soros, inspired by Karl Popper, invented by Karl Popper, reflexivity, and someone denying the invisible hand, the natural equilibrium. So that was interesting, even though I'm not a big fan of math. And yes, remember to check out The Closing of the American Mind. And moving on, in addition to George Soros's book, or before George Soros's book, Karl Popper was the author of a very famous book, The Open Society and Its Enemies. He's also the author of The Poverty of Historicism, but we're going to go over The Open Society and Its Enemies. If anything, you know, that's what we've been going over, is the Open Society and Its Enemies that George Soros bases his theories off of in his foundation. So anyway, that's just a little tidbit for you. And there's the photograph for you to check out if you would like to Google the book or purchase it on Audible. That's how I like to listen to my books. I definitely recommend that. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a video on the Open Society Foundation on George Soros. And I believe we may have time for all of it. If not, we'll cut it short and continue after the break. So let's check it out.
Trying to improve the world is more difficult than making money. You can only measure it if you have a strategy. I set up a foundation to promote this idea of an open society. Opening up closed societies, making open societies function better, and foster a critical mode of thinking.
Combining informed reasoning with an informed understanding of what is needed in the world to change the lives of people. George Soros is a spectacular example of that combination.
He's very suspicious of conventional wisdom. So he's a person who likes to argue. He likes to take the counterfactual position. He likes to take the counterintuitive position. He actually thinks for himself, and he's always self-critical.
I know that I don't know all the answers. Whatever frame I create is bound to be biased or incomplete or distorted. The important thing is to be aware and to try to minimize the damage.
He's a giant. He walks very small, careful steps. So people don't hear him going boom, boom, boom. And actually, I think he's quite shy.
That intellectual power that he brings, he sees things from a very broad, systemic perspective. That's very unusual.
People tend to feel that these problems are so huge. Leave it to the governments, leave it to others. But George never has that attitude. George always feels he can make a difference, an individual can make a difference, and doesn't hesitate to try.
As long as there are people like George Soros who make it possible for people out there who have a vision of positive change to try to create that positive change, we're heading in the right direction.
Welcome back to the Katie Cecine Show, Open Arms in an Open Society. So what we're going to do right now is check out the location of offices of the Open Society Foundations on their webpage. Okay, as we can see, the main office, the headquarters is in New York. There's also a core office in Budapest. As we know, Hungary is the home of George Soros. And in Belgium, in the UK, and also in DC, of course. And if we scroll down, we see locations in Africa, Angola, Congo, Kenya, Senegal. Scroll down to Asia Pacific, we've got Indonesia, Mongolia, Eurasia, Kazakhstan, etc. Europe, Albania, Armenia, Hungary, Kosovo, Serbia, Turkey, Ukraine, Spain. So some countries selectively, more so on the eastern side of Europe than the western side. In Latin America and the Caribbean, we have Haiti. In the Middle East, we have Afghanistan, Tunisia, etc. In the US, as we've gone over, DC, New York, our core offices, and we also have locations. There's also locations in Baltimore, and I guess, Washington. No, that must be also be DC. So Baltimore, New York, and Washington, DC. All right. So pretty much all over the world, he's established these open society foundations pushing for the open society. Now, he specifies on his website that he also wants people to make the transition from communism. But according to the UN, almost every nation in the world is democratic, so that's very confusing. Anyway, we've got to cut for a break from the show, but we'll be right back with you after these brief commercials, so stay tuned in. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at KatieFYNTV, and also email me at katie@fetchernews.com. I also want to thank you, and remember, we'll be right back.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia, Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
At Days Chevrolet in Jasper, we make everything better. And no matter what vehicle you drive, our new state-of-the-art service center can keep you running like new with factory-trained technicians, genuine parts, and value pricing. Even convenient Saturday service hours and online appointments. So if you want to extend the life of your vehicle, let the Days service experts help. Your better day is just ahead at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where we service whatever you drive.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
Hello, My name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Hello, welcome back to the Katie Sassine Show, addressing the indoctrination of the American nation. I'm your host, Katie Sassine, as always. So, we just watched a video on the Open Society Foundations featuring Mr. George Soros, and with many special guests. We also went to the OpenSocietyFoundations.org and looked over all the various locations throughout the world, strategically located in nearly every continent. So, very interesting stuff. We've got Open Society Foundations, what's a good word, popping up, sprouting all over the globe like daisies. So interesting stuff. And as far as we know about Open Society Foundations, we don't really know exactly what they're doing, because George Soros says they're trying to get people out of communism and help the transition out of communism. Well, of course, these transitions out of communism have already begun and are done for many countries, supposedly, because most of the countries in the world are supposedly democracies, but in reality, they are not actually democracies. So I do see where he's coming from in the sense that many democracies are still under the authority of authoritarian regimes, especially the more impoverished we go on the list of advanced developed countries to developing to, etc., down the totem pole. We don't call them first, second, or third world anymore. That's done. That's out the window. That's technically obsolete. But we do call them advanced and developing, etc. So we classify them on their rate of development, basically. Now reviewing the video of the Open Society Foundation on George Soros, he had many special guests, and I've got some quotes. His first quote said that trying to improve the world is more difficult than making money. Yes, we know, Mr. George Soros, that you know how to make money, because you've bought back economies for pennies on the dollar through their stock markets. So hence, your net worth is $25 billion. So, okay, he comes in with a bang and declares how rich he is. And then he goes on to say, I set up a foundation to promote this idea of an open society, which he didn't define in his 1998 interview. He said that an open society defines itself. Very cavalier. He's very slick. He's like, the 80-year-old Hungarian-American James Bond. Featured speakers in the video, we had Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen is a Harvard professor, Nobel Prize winner of economics. And Sen said, to change the lives of people, George Soros is a spectacular example. Careful choice of words. He said, to change the lives of people. In what way, we do not know. But Sen said that, Soros knows how to change lives. We don't know if it's for the better or the worse, but he knows. And then we had Leon Botstein. President Leon Botstein. Sorry, I'll say that again. President of Bard College and also on the Open Society Global Board. So he's in George Soros's circle of trust, so to speak. I'm referencing Meet the Parents with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro, the Robert De Niro circle of trust. So he is in George Soros's circle of trust. Botstein said that Mr. Soros is very suspicious of conventional wisdom. He also said that Soros likes to argue and oftentimes takes the counter position. Well, obviously, because he believes in critical rationalism like Karl Popper. So what Botstein just described was Soros's adherence to critical rationalism and to falsifiability, aka the problem of demarcation, the problem of social constructs. He just acknowledged that belief system of Soros. Now, if you don't research Soros, you don't have any idea what Botstein's talking about. You just say, oh, so Soros likes to doubt a lot and he's suspicious of conventional wisdom. Yes, to the utmost, to the highest degree possible, he is suspicious. To the degree where he believes essentially that culture should be dissolved. So if you don't know about Soros, this all goes right over your head. And this is just like any other friendly video. And then we get none other than, dun, 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 let's show the picture of the very popular musician in his hippie prime. We've got him coming up for you. Yes, there we go. Mr. Bono himself, artist and activist, was in the video, and he said that Mr. Soros is a giant, referring to his greatness and, of course, his intangible greatness that cannot be seen but only be felt by the many lives that he improves and makes more open-minded, I suppose, and takes away from tradition and culture. So Bono is an artist and activist, also known philanthropist. He has been heavily criticized for his ties with political power. Even on theguardian.com, there's an article that was published way back September 21st, 2013 by Tim Adams. The title is Bono, and it's a quote. And Bono says, "There's a difference between cozying up to power and being close to power." On the subtitle, it says, Bono interviewed during a trip to West Africa. Campaigner and YouTube frontman Bono talks about what drives his activism and responds frankly to criticism of aid to Africa, his relationship with politicians, and his group's controversial tax arrangements, ... So there's been a lot of talk about Bono having close ties to politicians and what's up with that, and does that tie into his taxes? I don't know. If he's friends with Soros, he shouldn't have any money problems. Moving on, Joseph Stiglitz was in the video. As a student in political sciences, Stiglitz is a familiar name and a friendly face. Professor of Columbia University, Nobel Prize winner of economics as well as Amartya Sen, the Harvard professor we mentioned first. Stiglitz said that Soros sees things from a very broad, systemic perspective that's very unusual. So we had Stiglitz tell us in the video that Soros's beliefs are unusual. And that's what makes Stiglitz a friendly face, because he just said something very honest there. Soros is an unusual person. He's got unusual beliefs. Okay? I mean, this is like super far-fetched stuff, people. And we are starting to think it's normalized. Not me. I'm speaking for other people, but half of the U.S. is, seeing Soros and his beliefs as totally normal, and they will want to submit to his ways, and they already do want to submit to his beliefs and his ways. Then we had Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan, sorry, it's Kofiannan, the former UN Secretary General. So we know that this is someone who's probably going to be very aligned with Soros's beliefs. And if he's not, he's going to act like he is for his reputation, because he was with the United Nations, the biggest international institution, the biggest liberal institution in the entire world. He described how, George always feels that an individual can make a difference. And he just, basically describes that George Soros wants to make a difference in every individual's life, and he's a caring person, et cetera, et cetera. So it was very general. And then Mabel Von Orange, I guess, I don't know how we say her last name. She's the chair of Girls Not Brides. She was the last woman in the video, the blonde. She's also on the Open Society Global Board and the Soros Circle of Trust. She said that we're heading in the right direction with George Soros and what he's doing. So I guess we'll see about that. And now moving on to the Open Society Foundation and current issues. There is a newly released interview and article. It's a video from @Open Society, which is a video series by the Open Society Foundations, and it talks about drugs. Let's check it out.
One of the things we've done is that we have disproportionately in science focused on the negative effects, the pathological effects related to drugs. These things are so dangerous, these things are so addictive that we must wage a war to get them out of our society. And those assumptions are just false. The biggest myth related to drugs is that most of the people who use them are addicted or become addicted relatively easily. And that's just simply not true. Only about 10 to 20% of the people who use these drugs become addicted. We bring people into the laboratory, people who are addicts, and we have shown that if you give people attractive alternatives to drug-taking behavior, so offer them something like money versus drug, you can get them to shift away from taking drugs and to take money if the amount of money is high enough. It shows that their behavior isn't driven solely by the drug, as the public has been misled to believe. Rather than providing drug-related information, what we do is provide drug-related hysteria, and we frighten the population rather than educate the population. And the folks who paid the price the most are poor people, poor racial minorities. But whenever you have losers, you also have winners. The prison systems, they are winners. Law enforcement, they are winners. Even at some level, scientists, because it's kind of easy to say that, hey, we're solving this awful problem, we need increased budgets to deal with this. If we were going to really educate people about heroin, let's say, 70% or more die because they combine that drug with a sedative like alcohol or benzodiazepine. The public health message that should be blasted is don't combine heroin with another sedative, if we were really concerned. That's not to say that people should go out and use illicit drugs. It's to say that we need to be honest, completely honest about what drugs do and what drugs don't do. And when it comes to drugs, the evidence is overwhelming that we are going about this the wrong way.
Now, I just showed you a propaganda video. I don't know if you knew that, if you knew what I was doing, but I just showed you some left Soros propaganda. And did you know that you were being brainwashed while you were watching that video? Did your brain register that you were being brainwashed? Because you were. And it's done so well that you can't even notice it. Now, tomorrow on the Katie Sassine Show, we'll get to talking about how that was Soros left propaganda, that video from the Open Society Foundation. Now, remember to stay tuned in with the Katie Sassine Show for all the information on the indoctrination of the nation. You can follow me at Twitter at KatieFYNTV and email me at katie@veterannews.com. I hope you have a blessed day, and please tune in for the show tomorrow.